Neglecting your car's essential fluids isn't just bad for performance, it's dangerous. Overheated engines, failing brakes, or leaking fluids can lead to catastrophic failures, including fires while driving. Don't risk turning your ride into a roadside inferno.
In this video, I'll introduce you to the various fluids in a vehicle. While some fluids, such as engine oil, are widely known, some drivers might not realize there are also fluids for the transmission, the brakes, and even the steering system. Overlooking them can be dangerous to your vehicle's long-term health. And offer recommendations on how often to change them, check them, and top them off. Now let's take a look at different types of fluids are in a standard vehicle, starting with engine oil. It is also referred as motor oil. This may be the most important fluid in your vehicle. As motor oil travels through the engine, it lubricates essential parts such as the valves, pistons, and timing chains so they work smoothly. Clean oil also prevents the buildup of sludge, which can clog the narrow oil passages in your engine. Without ample oil flow, your vehicle's fuel consumption increases as performance declines. Driving with low oil levels can significantly reduce the life of your vehicle. Inside your engine, controlled ignitions can heat metal components to temperatures as high as 315 degrees Celsius. As these parts are not cooled by radiator coolant, they quickly become worn down without sufficient oil. When your engine performs to a greater efficiency, its lifespan increases. Without enough clean oil, mechanical parts wear out and become corroded, costing you money and precious time. So now, let's take a look at how to check oil levels. Most cars have a dipstick in the engine bay, which lets you quickly inspect the oil. It's best to check your oil after your engine has been turned off for at least 10 minutes, so the oil can settle at the bottom and cool off. First, pull the dipstick out and wipe it clean. Then, reinsert it and pull it back out. The dipstick is marked with maximum and minimum indicators that show how much oil is in your engine. The oil on the dipstick should be near maximum. If it's at or below the minimum, add more immediately. A low reading could indicate your engine is leaking or burning oil, which can cause damage if left untreated. Oil level is one thing, but its condition is equally important. To check it, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. Smear the oil on the dipstick between your fingers. It should feel slick and smooth. If you notice any particles or grittiness, components are likely wearing down, which is a major issue. Like almost everything else, your engine oil has a lifespan. Over time, the oil begins to degrade and lose its effectiveness. Also look at the color of the oil. If it's a yellow or amber color, you're good to go. If it's a darker coffee color or black, it's time for an oil change, and if you see a milky color, that means coolant is leaking into the engine. The general rule is to change conventional oil every 3,000 miles, blended synthetic oil every 4,000 to 5,000 miles, and every 5,000 to 10,000 miles for full synthetic oil. So, how do you choose the right oil for your vehicle? Your oil cap typically lists what oil weight your vehicle uses, like 5W20, 10W30, etc. There are many choices when it comes to picking the appropriate oil. They're classed as either mineral, semi-synthetic, or full synthetic oils. If you're unsure which one your engine uses, it's best to check your car's manual. But whatever the OEM suggestion, it's helpful to know the differences. Mineral oil has a relatively low resistance to heat and oxidation. They last 3,000 miles on average. This means you need to change your engine oil more frequently. But if your engine is older and has always used mineral oil, continuing with the oil will still provide beneficial protection for your engine. Full synthetic oil has high resistance to heat and oxidation. Better anti-friction properties, engine responsiveness, and fuel economy also help extend the life of your engine. It can last more than 6,000 miles between oil changes. With a longer oil change interval, you don't need to visit your mechanic quite so often. Semi-synthetic oils are a blend of mineral and synthetic oils that achieve higher levels of performance than from mineral oil alone. It offers you the benefits of both. After the engine, the transmission is the most expensive part of a vehicle to replace. The same way motor oil keeps an engine running, transmission fluid is essential to transmission function. This fluid lubricates the gears and synchros in a manual transmission and does the same with clutch packs and gears in an automatic transmission. It helps to reduce friction between moving parts and reduce the amount of heat generated. It also cools the transmission by transferring heat away from it and from other internal engine components. Towing heavy loads, stop-and-go city driving, and harsh weather conditions can cause more strain on your transmission. If you commonly drive in these roads, it's important to check your transmission fluid levels and condition to prevent potential issues. Having low or dirty transmission fluid can lead to a variety of problems that could affect the longevity and performance of your vehicle, like overheating, inconsistent shifting, loss of hydraulic function, decreased fuel efficiency. Also increase the risk of damaging internal gears and parts as they begin grinding together due to a lack of lubricant. So let's understand how to check and change the transmission fluid. Checking and changing the transmission fluid is a simple maintenance task that can help you keep your car running smoothly and safely. Here's a step-by-step guide on how to do it. Check the owner's manual for the type of transmission fluid your car uses and make sure you have the right amount. Lift the car if necessary and get underneath while looking for the transmission fluid pan. Unscrew the bolts and remove the pan. Drain the fluid into a container and then check the fluid's color and smell. If it is dark and smells burnt, it needs to be changed. Clean the pan and reinstall it. Refill the transmission with the correct type of fluid. Now, start the car and check the dipstick for the correct level. If the level is low, add more fluid, replace the dipstick, and close the hood. Changing the transmission fluid at regular intervals is essential, as it can become contaminated or less effective over time. Regardless of whether you have a manual or automatic transmission, it contains fluid that needs to be changed in intervals. You don't need to change transmission fluid nearly as often as oil, but it's important to note that neglecting it can quickly lead to transmission failure, which is nearly as costly a repair as changing an engine. The transmission fluid should be changed every 30,000 to 60,000 miles on a manual transmission, and every 60,000 to 100,000 miles on an automatic transmission. Some modern vehicles have transmission oil that can go up to 100,000 and even 150,000 miles between changes. And many transmissions come with lifetime fluid that should never need replacement. Automatic transmission fluid is different from manual transmission fluid. ATF is used in automatic cars, while manual transmission fluid is for cars with a clutch and gear shifter. Automatic transmission fluid is thinner and faster flowing than manual transmission fluid. They also are different colors. ATF is dark red, while MTF is brown or amber. There are several different types of transmission fluid, which is why it's important to use the fluid recommended in the owner's manual of your vehicle to achieve the best performance. In general, Dexron or Mercon and multi-vehicle synthetic are the most common for automatic transmission, and CVT fluids require specific fluid. Differential oil. No matter what kind of car you have some form of a differential, which is part of the drivetrain, helps evenly distribute vehicle power to each wheel. The differential is what keeps you in control as you turn. Four-wheel drive vehicles generally have a front and rear differential, and many all-wheel drive vehicles have a center differential as well as a rear. The differential relies on differential fluid to stay working in optimal condition. A differential fluid is also known as gear oil, that lubricates the internal components of the differential, like the ring and pinion gear, so the differential doesn't start to grind down and cause major problems. Gear oil is designed to withstand higher temperatures than engine oil. This means that it can better protect the gears from heat damage and also help to prolong the life of differential and improve its performance. Generally, gear oil is thicker than the engine oil, which means that it can provide better lubrication for the gears and differential. So how to know if gear oil needs a change? Generally, the gear oil breaks down over time, gets dirty, and needs to be changed. Most manufacturers put the interval at 80 to 120,000 miles, so check accordingly. Unlike motor oil, which works with an oil filter, differentials don't have a filter. It means when a differential experiences unwanted friction, small metal shavings or pieces can appear in the differential and may cause significant damage. The gear oil cools the differential, and without gear oil can cause overheat due to metal-on-metal contact. It also weakens gears and wears down surfaces that can lead to differential failure, which is a costly problem. What gear oil you'll use depends on whether the vehicle has an open differential or a limited slip differential. There are two basic types of differential fluid: mineral oil, which is a natural, crude oil-based fluid, and synthetic differential fluid, which is created with chemicals and can be fine-tuned for optimal performance. In addition to these two primary types, there are also variations and formulations that can include additives designed to enhance performance, such as friction modifiers for limited slip differentials. Brake fluid. When it comes to maintaining a safe and efficient car, one aspect that is often overlooked is the importance of the brake fluid in the braking system. A crucial component in bringing your vehicle to a stop safely, brake fluid plays a pivotal role in transmitting the pressure applied to the brake pedal into the actual function of slowing down your car. Therefore, ensuring that your brake fluid remains in optimal condition is of utmost importance. Most hydraulic brake systems found in vehicles use brake fluid to help stop the vehicle. So how does it work? When pressure is applied to the brake pedal, it typically activates a brake booster, which uses engine vacuum to amplify the force exerted by the driver on the pedal. This boosted force then activates the master cylinder, which is responsible for pushing pressurized brake fluid into the brake lines. Once the brake fluid is pressurized, it flows to the brake calipers in disc brake systems or to the wheel cylinders in drum brake systems. This pressurized fluid engages the braking components, such as the brake pads in disc brakes and the brake shoes in drum brakes, effectively causing friction to slow down the vehicle. The harder you press on the brake pedal, the more pressurized fluid becomes, which increases the stopping force. This works because liquid, it is incompressible, meaning it can act as a solid force under pressure, even though it moves as a liquid. When the brake pads rub against the rotor, the friction causes the wheels to slow and eventually stop. This friction is what converts the kinetic energy of the moving vehicle into heat, allowing it to come to a stop. Impressively, all of this happens in the blink of an eye. Yet if your brake fluid has gone bad or is too low, your brakes won't be as responsive, or in worse cases, they may not work at all. That's why it's crucial to have your brake fluid routinely checked. How brake fluid gets low. Even though the braking system is designed to be closed, small amounts of moisture can still enter through various points like tiny holes in rubber hoses, imperfect seals, or even during maintenance when the cap is left open. Over time, exposure to the air can increase the water content inside your brake fluid. Even a small increase in water content can significantly affect brake fluid performance. When the water content rises, the boiling point of the brake fluid decreases. This is critical because friction from the brake pads creates a lot of heat. If the heat around the brakes causes the fluid to reach its boiling point, it will be vaporized into gas and the brakes will lose effectiveness. Soft brake pedal, oil-like puddle under the vehicle, ABS warning light, and worn-out brake pads signify low brake fluid levels. It is crucial to keep an eye on brake fluid as it can be dangerous when it runs low. Most cars have a brake fluid reservoir in the engine bay, and checking it is as simple as taking a look at its level and color. Now let's take a look at different types of brake fluids. The best way to identify what type of brake fluid your car needs is to check your owner's manual. You can also check the master cylinder reservoir cap to identify the type of brake fluid used in your vehicle. These are the 4 different types of brake fluids used in car. .3, 4, and 5.1 fluids are hygroscopic and glycol-based, while .5 is silicone-based. The main difference is that these 3 can absorb water, while .5 doesn't. These 3 brake fluids have higher boiling point. Therefore, with regards to these 3 glycol-based fluids, .3 has the lowest boiling point and .5.1 has the highest. Most brake fluids used today are glycol-based and are ideally suited for higher performance vehicles where the braking system routinely reaches moderate brake temperatures. DOT5 fluid is silicone-based and hydrophobic, meaning it repels water and does not absorb moisture from the atmosphere while in service. This characteristic provides a longer service life and enhances corrosion resistance for the braking system's components. DOT5 was initially introduced to offer better high-temperature performance compared to glycol-based DOT4 fluids. However, because it is silicone-based, it may not lubricate ABS pumps as effectively as glycol-based fluids do. This compatibility issue can be a crucial factor to consider when selecting brake fluid for systems that utilize ABS technology. The power steering fluid works in much the same way as brake fluid, but for your steering system. It hydraulically links the steering wheel and the front wheels, and it keeps other power steering parts lubricated. The Chrysler Imperial, launched in 1951, was the first production car in America to be equipped with power steering. This not only enhanced driver comfort, but also marked a critical turning point in the automotive industry. Following its success, other manufacturers began to adopt power steering in their models, recognizing its value in improving handling and usability. By the early 1960s, power steering had transitioned from a luxury feature to a standard component across most American cars. Before power steering, drivers would have a difficult time making even the smallest turn or maneuver, and if the vehicle was on the larger side, it would be even harder, if not near impossible. Many power steering systems are hydraulic, using pressurized fluid to make turning the wheel effortless, though some newer models now rely on electric steering. When fluid levels are low, turning is much harder, as your vehicle has basically reverted to an old-school manual steering system. So, do you need to change the power steering fluid? Power steering fluid doesn't expire, and there's no set time frame on when power steering fluid needs to be replaced. But if it isn't changed or flushed when needed, it will wear down in the system over time. Knowing your car's power steering fluid type and the recommended power steering maintenance will help keep your vehicle in great working order and keep you safe on the road. The fluid is typically red, amber, pink, light, or clear, but if it is dark brown or foamy, it needs to be changed. There are a variety of power steering fluids offered, so be sure to double-check which one your specific make and model require. The type of power steering fluid needed can be found on the manufacturer's website, in the manual, as well as sometimes printed directly on the reservoir cap. The power steering fluid reservoir is located under the hood. The container is usually white or yellow with a black cap that has the words power steering or steering fluid on the top. What is engine coolant? Engine coolant, commonly referred to as antifreeze. It typically consists of water mixed with chemical additives that lower the freezing point and raise the boiling point, protecting the engine in extreme temperatures. Why engine need coolant? With all the combustion and friction that happens in an engine, it produces a lot of heat. Coolant works to keep everything well and cool by absorbing engine heat and dissipating it through the radiator. Maintaining the correct coolant level prevents overheating. Additionally, it helps prevent corrosion and lubricates components within the cooling system. Without a coolant, the heat produced through constant internal combustion would destroy the engine very quickly. Water alone is not enough to keep the system cool, for the high temperatures inside the engine would eventually boil and evaporate it entirely. So, how coolant works in engine? Engine coolant is used in conjunction with a liquid cooling system. The liquid cooling system is made up of several components, such as water pump, radiator, radiator hoses, thermostat, and cooling fan. The cooling system in your car works by sending coolant through passages in the engine block and cylinder heads. As the coolant flows through these passages, it picks up heat from the engine. The heated fluid then makes its way through a rubber hose to the radiator in the front of the car. As it flows through the thin tubes in the radiator, the hot liquid is cooled by the airstream entering the engine compartment from the grille in front of the car. Once the fluid is cooled, it returns to the engine to absorb more heat. The water pump has the job of keeping the fluid moving through this system of plumbing and hidden passages. Types of engine coolant. Most automotive coolants are glycol-based, typically consisting of a mixture of ethylene glycol, water, and additive packages. Another common glycol-based coolant is made from propylene glycol and water. The major difference between the two types is that propylene glycol is less toxic, though it is slightly less effective at heat transfer compared to ethylene glycol. Pure water has a higher heat-carrying ability than pure ethylene glycol, making it an ideal coolant if heat transfer were the only consideration. Can you only use water as coolant? Yes, but using only water presents other challenges, such as it forms rust on iron engine parts. The rust is then carried off to other cooling areas. This corrosion not only interferes with heat transfer, but can also clog the radiator, water pump, and hoses, leading to reduced system efficiency and possible engine damage. For these reasons, glycol-based coolants, which include anti-corrosion additives, are used in automotive systems. Different types of engines coolants are inorganic additive technology, IAT. It is a conventional coolant that was used on older vehicles for many years. While still available, IAT fluid is being phased out due to newer technologies, superior heat transfer abilities, and improved corrosion protection. This type of coolant needs to be changed more frequently because it tends to lose its qualities faster. Organic acid technology. OAT antifreeze contains organic acids as their main corrosion fighters, carboxylates, and other organic salts. It is typically phosphate and silicate-free. It offers excellent corrosion protection and heat transfer properties while preventing scale buildup. With its long service life, OAT fluid is great for modern aluminum engine designs. Hybrid organic acid technology. The goal of HOAT fluids is to combine the strengths of traditional IAT and OAT technology while minimizing their drawbacks. The result is well-rounded protection against corrosion and scale in one formula. Always refer to the manufacturer's specifications in the owner's manual of your vehicle to verify what type of coolant your vehicle requires. Choosing the wrong product can result in poor performance or engine failure. Windshield washer fluid. Unlike the other fluids on this list, windshield wiper fluid doesn't serve an essential purpose in your car's engine or mechanical parts. Instead, it just cleans your windshield glass and makes it easier for you to see in muddy or dusty conditions. It provides a non-freezing cleaning solution for the windshield. It is often overlooked, but it is crucial for safe driving. Without this liquid, you could experience trouble seeing through your dirty windscreen. In most vehicles, pulling on the windshield wiper knob releases washer fluid onto the windshield and simultaneously runs the wipers to clear away grime and streaks for better visibility. Some cars also let you use washer fluid on the headlights. You don't ever need to change washer fluid, but you will need to top it off regularly. You don't want to be stuck with a filthy windshield and an empty fluid reservoir. Again, checking the washer fluid level when you're getting your oil changed is a good rule of thumb. It's important to note, though, that different washer fluid has different freeze temperatures. And if you live in the northern half of the country that encounters below 15-degree temperatures, it's important to note that not all washer fluid is equal. Summertime washer fluid, like bug wash, can freeze in sub-zero temperatures, rendering your washer system useless when you most need it. Once fall comes, it's a great idea to get any summertime fluid out and replace it with de-icer, which is always rated into negative temperatures. Maintaining your vehicle's essential fluids is crucial for ensuring its longevity and optimal performance. By paying attention to these 6 essential fluids, you're taking a proactive step towards maintaining your vehicle's health.